to the point from where I say, I am. I touch the heart of the infinite. I know that everything that I do is part of the creative process. And it expresses through me according to my awakening beliefs. And I know that any idea of separation from that which is infinite and everywhere, any idea of limitation to that which is all, simply has no meaning to me, and it has no power over to me. I release it and dissolve it into a greater idea of myself, a greater idea of humanity, a greater idea of the wholeness of life. And as I open up to create a new mental equivalent in my own mind, that one spiritual energy rushes into it, beautifully, elegantly, lovingly expressing into my expression as the qualities of spirit according to my belief. I know this is true of me. It's true of each one of you. You are magnificent spiritual beings, beautiful beyond description, powerful beyond imagination. It is true of everyone in Charlotte, the Carolinas, the world, and beyond. I am so grateful to know that reality itself is more beautiful and magnificent than I could ever imagine, and I am in a path to awaken to it even more than I am now, as we all are. This day is the best day that has ever been. This is the day of goodness, health, harmony, success. It is the day of spiritual awakening. And I give thanks that all good is already given to all, through all, as all. I release this powerful word into law, into mind, into reality, knowing that it expresses in ways that are incredible and beautiful through and as each one of us. And together we may say, and so it is.
I tell you, that is powerful. Thank you, Reverend Ned, for that, embracing that. That was delicious. That was good. I tell you. So now I'm going to have to put on my big girl glasses so I can do this justice. I am going to prepare to welcome in our guests today, this Sunday, our dear Reverend Renee Laboa, who is an ordained minister who has studied and taught the science of mind and ancient wisdom for over 3 decades. I find that to be impossible. She must have started at 2. But anyway, she served as co-spiritual leader of the Spiritual Living Center of Charlotte for 12 years. She is an author, teacher, and advocate for mental health awareness, and she shares her stories as an example of what is possible for all of us. A powerful force of belief and conviction pushed her to understand and explore the complex nature of the subconscious mind. So Renee is a true survivor. She has not only flipped the script on the narrative of her life through the teaching of New Thought and metaphysics, but she also lives in service to teaching and guiding others to find their truth. And I love this quote. It says, "The power that lies within you is a beauty to behold." Love that. Thank you, Reverend Renee. So, let's see. Welcome. Sure. Sure. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Serena.
you.
You can introduce me anytime you want. So beautiful. Hi. Hi, everybody. Some of you I know well for a very, very long time, and so you'll recognize when I move the music stand around. Repeat after me. I am a divine representative of God. Say, I am magnificent. There's nothing and no thing in the world that compares to my beauty. And so it is. We can all go now. It is so great to see you, and I just want to thank Shari and Reverend Ned for the introduction. I also want to tell you about Reverend Ned. Reverend Ned has been in this teaching since about 14, and when you see him doing a treatment, what you're seeing is him orchestrate an energy that is so sacred, so infinite, and so magnificent. He is the incarnation of Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes is the founder of the Science of Mind. When I say that, go on YouTube, watch a video of Ernest Holmes, and tell me if he doesn't have the speech pattern, the movements, and the energy of Reverend Ned. So he is the epitome of Science of Mind. So thank you. And you're the same height. Thank you. Thank you. I was just sharing with Ned that I think you guys get the Science of Mind or know what the Science of Mind magazine is. At an auction, I purchased one pile of books. And this is an original Science of Mind book from May 1931. And it's in pristine condition. I keep them in a sacred place. But I wanted to share with you something today. And Ned said this. He said this in his treatment, which I thought was very wonderful because I already had it tagged. Let us wonder. Our souls need the stimulation of wonder and worship. We need to come more often as the wise men came from the east and deposit our gifts, pour out our souls in wonder and adoration at the feet of the newborn Christ consciousness in our soul. Whew. We need to pour out the wonder of the Christ consciousness in our soul. You know what I like to say a lot? I like to say that I'm moving and standing at the threshold of my new consciousness. And what I mean by that is that I believe that we're constantly evolving. My teacher, my original teacher, Reverend Mary Beth Spear, who I believe is listening, she talks about spiral dynamics. And the spiral dynamics is that we are continually evolving, right? Kind of like a labyrinth. Have you ever seen a labyrinth, walked on a labyrinth? It has the illusion that we're going backwards when we're actually going forward. How often do we feel that way in life? I'm going backwards. No, you're actually going forward because we can't unknow what we already know. So I want to share with you today, we're going to talk about the principles of Science of Mind and how you can use them to change your life. This is probably not a new concept. The absolute power of your thought and how changing the narrative of your story raises your vibration, okay? So the title of the talk is Mind Your Mind. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know what you believe? Sorta. Here's how you know what you believe. If you want to know what it is that you believe, look at your health, look at your finances, look at your life, look at your friends, look at your car, look at your neighborhood, look at how you respond to the news, you respond to cultural events, how you respond to what is happening in our world today. Based on those responses and those observations, that will tell you what your belief system is. Now, don't be upset about that if it's not in alignment with where you think you want to be. If you have judgments, resentments, don't be upset about that, because the good news is that by understanding the subconscious mind, which is like the Wile E. Coyote, do you remember that cartoon? And it's gonna get playful and it's gonna trick you. But we have the power of conscious mind. In conscious mind, we get to choose what it is we think. And when we choose what we think, we can redirect the path. So I want to tell you about the idea of linear thought. Linear thought is one that says right here, I have a belief, I have an idea, and that belief is right. And I'm not open to discussion about it. That's linear. And the definition of linear is arranged or extended along a straight line. Now, that is to say that if I think the same thing over and over and over again, I am not open to contrast. Contrast is what changes our lives. Higher consciousness is a state of elevated awareness and perception in which a person has a deeper understanding of the nature of reality, the self, the various spiritual aspects of life that play an important role in one's personal evolution and psychological development. Okay, so here we go. Indecision is a decision. Think about that for a minute. When we don't make a decision about our lives or the direction in which we want to go, we are deciding to stay stagnant. We are deciding that we're not moving forward. So indecision is a decision. Think about that. There is no way that we can fail. No way that we can ever fail. I'll tell the two young men that. There is no way that you can ever fail at anything that you put your mind to. Do you know why? The only way you can fail is if you quit. I don't care how many times you fall down, you skin your knee, how many times it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want. As long as you keep going, you keep trying to find a new direction and go, okay, well, that didn't work, check. What can I do now? How can I redirect my thoughts toward the outcome that I want to experience? The only way you can fail is to quit. So my message to you is never stop. Never stop, because within both of you is the answer to everything that you seek. Now, that's going to help when you go to college. Do you guys play sports? Yeah. Never quit. Never quit. I wish somebody had told me that. I wish somebody had told me that there's no way that I could fail. Anyone else in this room ever live with self-doubt? Feelings of inadequacy? Yeah, feelings of guilt, unworthiness, not enough, not lovable. All these things, right? All these things have either existed in us at one point or another. And somewhere along the line, we've made a decision. We made a decision that that's not true, or we're going to overcome that thought. So let's say you have a belief about the world around us, and it's easy to have certain beliefs at this point. And what happens when, let's say, you look at the news, we fall under the spell of conditions, right? And I know that there's certain people in the news that cause me to have a visceral reaction and cause me to be less than precious in my mind, right? And so it's super important to allow people to pass through your mind safely. Well, I try to remember that when I feel something that comes up inside of me, I have to ask, well, why am I actually feeling that? What's going on? Well, of course, I don't agree with the outcome or this person who's speaking, but how can I keep peace in my mind? How can I continue to be the person that I say I want to be? It sounds great on paper to say, well, I'm going to forgive. I'm just going to forgive. I'm going to do affirmations all day long until I no longer have resentment. I'm going to forgive everybody. It's not easy to have forgiveness. It's not easy to set down resentment. It's not easy sometimes to choose a new belief. Here's how you do it. Ask yourself, is this how I want to feel? And if the answer is no, how do I want to feel? Take the tape all the way to the end of the movie. All the way to the end of the movie. How do I want to feel? How do I want this to end? And so what we do is we're going to skip all this in the middle. We're going to skip all the drama, all the everything, and we're just going to go straight to here. And then we start affirming. We start focusing on what it is that we say we want. Now, Shari said that I have changed the narrative of my story. Some of you that know me know the backstory, right? Know the little homeless girl, the drug addict, the problem child, all this stuff, until she found the science of mind. And yes, I changed the narrative of my story. Why was that? It was because somebody told me when I didn't believe in myself, you are magnificent. So imagine that little girl's going, you don't know me, do you? You don't know what I had did and where I have been. You don't know me. And this person said to me, yes, I do. You are not your actions. Those don't define who you are. Who you are is always magnificent, has always been magnificent. You're a child of God. You're a child of this incredible universe, but you're acting out. You're acting like you forgot that truth. And so how can you turn that around? And so then I started studying the science of mind, because it is a science. The reason I like that word science is because prayer takes form and walks as a manifestation and a demonstration in our lives, right? It's true. It absolutely does. That's why I say, if you want to know what it is that you believe, look at your life. And it's really this simple. A lot of times we pray or we do spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer, and we say, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want. Or I don't really know what I want, but I want it to feel a little bit like this. So that's kind of like driving through the drive-thru at Jack in the Box and them saying, well, what is it you want? I don't know. Give me whatever you got. That's not how it works with the universe. The universe is specific, and it is without personality, and it plays no favorites. So each and every one of us is entitled to that magnificent, perfect energy. Okay, who has seen the visions from the James Webb telescope? What they're seeing out there? If you have not, get on YouTube and see it. This has always been my concept of God, or the infinite power by which we have all been created. And so when I see that, and I look at the limitations that I place on my life through thought, I go, well, how dare you? Whoa. Look at this energy from which we come from. How can these things that limit my thinking and limit my belief in good be true? They're not. It's an illusion. So I want to tell you something. So I've had this thought that I cannot buy a riding lawnmower because they're super expensive. The front yard that I have is like a mini Ponderosa. It's massive. I'm not as young as I was, and I probably could exercise more. And girl doesn't like the heat. Okay, I don't mind getting sweaty, but there's a part between sweaty and having like a heat stroke, right? And so when I go out to mow the lawn, we have an electric mower. And so I'm out there with the Ponderosa, and I insist on mowing the lawn because I need exercise. I'm out there, and I'm huffing and puffing. My wife bought me this thing that goes around your neck, and it blows cold air. It's fantastic because the hotter you get, the cooler the air is. So I'm out there with that on, which I probably look ridiculous. I got my hair up in a ponytail. I got my rubber boots on that have little puppy prints on them. I have my earbuds in, and I got my phone in my back pocket, and I'm singing at the top of my lungs. About ready to pass out, but I'm pushing this. And so I always say about the neighbor across the street, because I do let my lawn get a little too long because I don't like mowing the lawn. So he's over there, and he's older than me, but he has his riding lawnmower, and he's riding back and forth. So I look out the window and go, do you see how he's taunting me with his riding lawnmower? He's taunting me. And so he's out there, and he's got his little hat on, he's got his little cup holder, and I'm like, he is taunting me. If he really cared about my well-being and he sees me out there sweating, he would loan me his riding lawnmower. Right? But that's a funny story. But the truth is that how many times in life do we get all twisted up because we think something should be a certain way? And what I mean by that is that we think people, places, and things should act the way we want them to act. The only thing we have control of, and let me be real clear about this, the only thing we have control of is how we think. That's it. How we think and how we feel. So I want to share with you the circle, the dynamic of a circle is that we have a thought, a belief, and then that creates an emotion. I have an emotion around that, and then that creates an action or a reaction. And then, well, you have a thought about the reaction. Well, now I have even more emotions, And those emotions are going to make me act a little bit cray. And so then I have another action. And on it goes, right? Where do we stop the circle? Anybody in this room a survivor of any type of trauma? You don't have to call it out, right? So how do you forgive that? How do you forgive that? Now, that's easy to say, but forgiveness comes from a high level of respect for self. And what I mean by that is that when I'm dragging this person around who I believe acted towards me in a way that I did not invite, I'm dragging them around. I'm taking them, putting them in my car. I'm taking them to the dry cleaner. I'm taking them to lunch with me. I'm taking them to bed. I'm clothing them. I'm making this whole thing an alive project when they have so long ago been absent from my life. So how do we forgive? How we forgive is by realizing that there is no other outcome to the story, because it was. Tragic as some of them may be, how do you move on? How do you set yourself free? It's a decision, because we cannot go back and change it. God, I wish we could, and have that be erased from our subconscious mind, our consciousness. But forgiveness is that one action to change our beliefs about from being a victim to survivor that will change your entire life. And I mean that in every aspect of your life. To stand in that place and say, I'm not a victim to anything in this world because I choose how I feel. Nobody can take that from me. I choose what I think. Nobody can take that from me. There is a power inside of you that you have not tapped into. Well, maybe you have. I'm just assuming, and I apologize for that. So here it is. It's easy to fall into the conditions of the world around us. So easy, especially through the pandemic. Horrific. Can you believe we lived through a pandemic? That to me at the time was absolutely, I couldn't process the information. I just could not process it. And here we are on the other side-ish. And we get to choose how we show up now in our lives. Because I don't know about you, but I'm much changed. I'm much changed by the past 3 years. And so who do I get to be now? I have a greater respect for life. I have a greater respect for every moment that I'm breathing. I have a greater respect for the things that I allow to move through my sacred temple. I have a greater respect for the energy I allow in my life, the people that are around me. No is my very favorite word, because self-care and self-respect are number one in my life now. Did the pandemic make that happen? I don't know, but it brought everything to the forefront for me. So we have to focus on the life that we want to live. And when we do that, we raise our vibration. And what happens with the vibration? It becomes a magnet. And we draw to us everything that is of its like. So how do I demonstrate that? That the universe is a law, that thought is a law, that everything you think comes back in some way, shape, or form. What is a law? A law is something that is immutable, that never changes, such as, that's gravity. Gravity always works, never fails. Gravity works. So that right there is proof positive that we live in a universe of laws. Gravity's always going to work, of course, unless you go up into that space thing. And it still works, of course. So that is a law of the universe. So because we're energetic beings from this energetic universe that continues to create upon itself, new planets are being born, new stars are being born, stars are dying out, there's black holes, and then they disappear and something else shows up. It is phenomenal. So here we are on this ball that's circulating around the sun, and there's everything else going on around us. How dare us believe that we are less than anything that is magnificent? To put our minds out there to think that we are part of this cosmic expansion When you really, it sounds all fluffy and that's so cute on paper. But the truth is that we are part of this. We come from this. And yet we see ourselves in such a small way. It's called dysmorphia. It's a new thing that everybody's talking about, dysmorphia. And so dysmorphia for me is to believe that I'm less than. I have those moments. I do have those moments that I forget. I have those moments of feeling inadequate. I have those moments of being fearful, thinking that I don't have control over anything in my life. I have those moments where I feel like I'm not enough. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm an imposter. Any of these things, we get to choose. So what do I do when I have those moments? I stop. I try to pay attention to what it is that I'm thinking, and I stop. And then I ask myself, well, is that the truth of you? No. Do you know that to be true? No. Where would you be if you didn't have this thought? Happy. And so, is it true? What are you making it mean? These thoughts that you have. What are you making it mean? And where would you be without it? So your new task for the week is going to be this. Whenever you think a thing that is not in alignment, it's a fear thought or it's a limitation thought, I want you to roll the tape all the way to the end of the movie. You being the star. And how do you want the movie to end? Take any scenario in your life. How do you want that scenario to end? I have a friend, Reverend Jack Fowler, and he says this as a joke, but the truth is it really works when he says, well, how about we just skip that part? When you're worrying and fretting over something, he'll go, let's just skip that part. And that's how we get to act in our life, right? How long do I have? Am I going too long? Okay, good. You got to tell me when to be quiet. So I'm going to share a personal story with you. And it may not be popular, but my new platform is spirituality and mental health. I live with bipolar most of my life, and depression and anxiety. And about 4, 5, 6 years ago, I had what I call my come apart. And what that means is my puzzle landed on the floor and I couldn't find all my pieces, right? Now, I make fun of it because it's something I live with, just like some people live with other conditions. Mental health is not talked about enough, in my opinion. For years and years and years as a minister, I was ashamed to tell people who I was. I was ashamed to tell people that I got depressed, that I had what they call a diagnosis. Now, how do you live successfully with mental health? How do you do that? By just what I talked about. By just what I talked about. There's recovery in everything. Recovery from your negative thoughts. Recovery from life that dumps you on your head. Recovery is possible, right? How do we do that? We choose our thought. Choose our thought in the moment. And sometimes it's a vibration that's just up here from here. Well, you say, how can I go from this, which seems to be pretty intense, the things that are happening in my life, to right here? Well, you don't. That's not how it works. How it works is that you think the next thought, and then the next thought after that. And it's like a building block. You build upon your consciousness until you're standing there saying, yeah, I'm magnificent. I have a thing that I write on my mirror, and I write in Sharpie, just so you know it comes off with Windex, so don't be afraid. And it says, you are Renee frickin' Laboa. And sometimes I'm like, you are Renee frickin' Laboa. And it reminds me that sometimes I forget who I am. And I believe a lesser idea. Now, let's be real. Life happens. We're all living this human experience. But don't you think we could do it in a way that is a little bit more elevated and a little more creative. One that lives in imagination. There's something I wanted to read to you. What a tragedy that over time our natural nature of curiosity and imagination fades. Our open, loving hearts begin to dull, keeping us from asking all the magnificent, beautiful, magical questions. As a child, I was a force to be reckoned with. I was wide open. I was wide open like marbles on a hardwood floor, okay? That's how I was, just curious. I wanted to know everything. I got into everything. I asked questions about everything. And then life started happening, and I started developing beliefs, whether they were told to me or I experienced certain things. And so my concept of who I was started to shift. Maybe I stopped asking questions because maybe it didn't feel safe anymore. Maybe I wasn't as curious, or I tampered down my imagination because I bothered some people with my creativity and always wanting to set up a stage in the backyard. And of course, I had to be the director, always, and the main actor. But so I was told, if I remember when I was growing up, it was like, children are to be seen, not heard, right? Stop crying, stop expressing your emotion. For heaven's sake, stop coloring on the sheets, whatever. Stop coloring on the walls. And I love how some parents, the child colors on the wall and they put a frame around it. What an affirmation. What an affirmation. So all of this I'm telling you is for a purpose. You can study all day long. You can take classes. You can come on Sunday and be part of a fellowship and hear a message. And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, what I see in every single one of you, and trust and know I see you. I've looked in every single one of your eyes since I've been standing up here. And the only thing I see is radiant beauty. Because that's the truth of who you are. If there's any aspects or characteristics of your life or your personality that you don't care for, you don't have to get rid of them because they were there for a reason. They served you at one point. It's kind of like we're a stew, right? So I talked about this earlier in the sharing circle. So if something's a little too salty, what do? You add a little acid, sometimes like vinegar or a citrus. And then if it's a little too citrusy, I'm going to add a little salt back. Or I'm going to add a little bit of honey or brown sugar. And for me, it's always red chili peppers. Cayenne. Crazy about it. And so how do you keep creating this soup, this energy? You keep adding to it. Some of the Italian moms, they put a pot on the stove and they just keep adding to it throughout the days. They keep it going and they keep adding to it and adding to it. And that's how we are as beings, as souls. We keep adding and adding characteristics and having new ideas and casting off beliefs that no longer serve us and adopting new ones. And please don't ever, ever, ever be mean to yourself about actions you've had in the past or maybe something that you've believed that no longer serves you. I'm reading a book. It's called Waking Up White. I cried through the first couple chapters, and I haven't even gotten very far, and it's the true history of the African Americans and stuff that they don't tell us in school. And if you want to be part of America, I suggest that you start studying our true history. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I woke up to a new idea and an understanding of something I didn't know before. And that's what I talk about, is being curious. Being curious about things that maybe you don't understand so that you can begin to have a broader idea of the world that we live in and the world that you live in, because the world that you live in is what you make it. So I want to do a little visualization, if you will, and it's super powerful. And I don't think we do this enough. Some of us meditate, but I like sometimes guided meditations that lead us to an outcome. Okay, are you willing to take that journey with me? Okay, excellent. It's just a few minutes. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, as Joe starts the music, I want you to close your eyes. And if your hands are clasped, if you could just find a way to relax yourself, uncross your legs. And I want you to just take in a big breath to the count of 4 and hold it to the count of 5. And release it to the count of 7. And as you do this, you'll probably notice that your shoulders relaxed a bit. Once again, breathe in to the count of 4. Hold it to the count of 5. Release for the count of 7. And what you'll start to notice is that there were muscles and tension in your body you didn't even realize you were holding on to. So I want you to keep breathing consciously. And as you listen to the music, it comes from ancient wisdom, the flute, the Native American flute. Many cultures have instruments that are sacred and bring about music that enters into your soul and your DNA. So as you're breathing, I want you to imagine that you're standing outside of yourself, right in front of you. You're standing right in front of the you that's sitting in a chair, the chair. And I want you to see the radiant light that emanates from you, from your head to your toes. And it keeps coming out. And what it does then is it overlaps with the energy of the person next to you. And it overlaps with the person behind you and in front of you. So now we have created this space of possibility, energetic possibility. So if you would bring to mind something that you have maybe wanted to stop, or something maybe you've been afraid to try, something that needs to finish. Keep breathing. See it, feel it, allow it to tell you what the limitation is, the blockage. Now ask yourself, what is it that keeps me from experiencing the outcome? Now that you have that, I want you to jump ahead in time to the completion. And here you are, standing in the manifestation of that which you have intended. You don't need to know the steps that it takes to get to this place. All you need is the willingness. And the way will be shown, the steps and the stones will appear beneath your feet. There will be billboards and signs directing you to what is yours to do to reach this outcome. So let that feeling completely take over your DNA. The feeling of completion that you intended. And if you're willing, the you that is standing in front of you, witnessing this demonstration, allow now for the integration for the two of you to be as one. The light for there is truly nothing outside of us that can keep us from experiencing the life that is meant for us other than a thought or a belief. So breathe with me. Breathe in to the count of 4. Hold for the count of 5. Breathe out for the count of 7. When you're ready, feel the seat beneath you, the floor beneath your feet. And know that the energy that you've put out from you to the person behind you, in front of you, next to you, remains. This is the power that we have as we walk through this world. Feel the chair upon your spine. Place your hand upon your heart and allow yourself to come back to this room, to the sound of my voice. This is what it feels like to have a belief in something. You cut out the middle. Take a deep breath and come back to me when you're ready. Thank you, Joe. So I will leave you with this. And so when you try to get too serious with yourself this week or on, think about this. As a wee child, you didn't know how to walk. But you kept standing up and you'd fall down and go bonk. And you'd get back up and you'd fall down and you'd go bonk. And you're hanging onto the edge of the little table, and eventually one day in your curiosity, you put one foot in front of the other and went bonk. And then pretty soon you're walking. And then later on, as you mastered these limbs, you started running. And then one day you learned how to use scissors. That was really hard for me, the scissors. I learned how to tie my shoe. I learned how to use utensils to put nourishment in my body. So the next time you think something's impossible, think about all that you've already accomplished. If that human beings, we kept stopping every time something felt hard, we're never going to be able to run. We're never going to stand up. Imagine a world of everybody moving around on their bellies. Am I right? So I want you to think about all that you've already accomplished, that which might have at one point seemed impossible. I love you. I love you. I love you. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Renee. That was delicious. Thank you again. Oh my gosh, taking that in, that beautiful, beautiful vibration of love and power. Thank you. And just to share, while we're experiencing this, we want to participate in the law of circulation. We're going to do our giving right now. So if someone can get the baskets for us, could you please? Thank you. This was just such a lovely treat for us today. Has everyone enjoyed it? Thank you. Let's give her another hand, please, and thank you again. Thank you. I do. So we're going to affirm our kids, and then we're going to do our giving, our conscious giving. I love that. Thank you. Our conscious giving. Absolutely. And then we're going to have a special treat. We're going to have our reading by Manuel. He's not going to get away from it. So let's see if you all can say with me for our kids. Kids, we see you, we hear you, we appreciate you, and we love you just the way you are. Thank you. And with our conscious giving, divine love moving through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, for the good in my life. Thank you. And as the baskets are going around, we're going to have Manuel come up and do our reading. But this has been such a joyous day. It's a little overcast today, but it's so bright in here. Do y'all feel the energy? So Manuel's coming up in just this moment. And again, let's just keep this energy high and flowing. And we're sending love again to our dear Reverend Krista. We know she's watching. Thank you, Manuel.
All right, this reading is from the Science of Mind magazine from today, September 11. And it's called the Treadmill of Manifestation. Patience takes courage. It is not an ideal state of mind, state of calm. In fact, when we practice patience, we will see our agitation far more clearly. Pema Chodron. If God is omnipresent, we cannot escape the divine presence. That's from Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind, page 462. For far too long, I equated blessings with the accumulation of physical things that in some way or another propped up my ego. Once these perceived blessings were received, it will seem as if they'd quickly be discounted as I began my wish list all over again, seeking to attain something more, something better. This constant state of dissatisfaction fueled a continuous void that expanded over time. From this place of consciousness, my joy and happiness were at the mercy of the external world. Therefore, if the external world didn't reflect the blessings I sought, then my happiness was ever fleeting. Pondering this treadmill of manifestation I was on, I sat next to a river one day. I watched Chattahoochee flow with ease, not in a rush, mindfully moving around the large rocks and tree roots protending from the riverbanks. At that moment, a flash of awareness entered my mind. Whether one is attaining what they believe they desire or falling short, that does not mean one is more blessed than another. Instead, if the divine is ever present, then wouldn't that mean that blessings too are ever present? This breath we breathe, our hearts that beat, our minds that think, the earth that spins, this moment that is, this is where the true blessings dwell. These aren't based on things but simply are. Be mindful this day and recognize not only the eternal blessings given, but also your ability to bless this planet. And if you can repeat after me our affirmation, I recognize endless blessings, and I'm a blessing to the world. Thank you.
Thanks again, Manuel. Thank you. I so appreciate this teaching, just to know our divine connection to all and our oneness. And we're going to now welcome Reverend Ned again for our closing treatment. And thank you all again.
Yes, there are other laws that can work with gravity. Okay. And now, I invite you to join me in knowing spiritual truth in a deeper and clearer way. Right where I am, I know that just beyond the appearance is one infinite spiritual presence and power, one energy that transcends time and space and expresses itself from a perfection with an endless sense of total harmony, success, beauty, unconditional love everywhere. This spiritual presence is the essence, the substance of everything and everyone. I know I am made out of this spiritual energy. I know that I am equal to everyone in this room, everyone in the world, and beyond. There is a deep, profound connection with all of us because we are conscious, living, spiritual beings. And I say of myself, I am a living stream of consciousness, eternally awakening to my oneness with infinite spiritual perfection. And as I awaken, the infinite goodness of spirit flows through my awakening beliefs into physical form, into my circumstances, elegantly, beautifully, and reliably. And any idea that I am a victim of circumstances is just plain stupid and doesn't make any sense to me. And in its place, I awaken to the truth of all of us, that I can say, I am a living stream of consciousness, eternally awakening to my oneness with infinite spiritual perfection. I open my heart, mind, and soul to a greater idea of myself and all of life. I am Spirit's opportunity to express itself as a better version of me. I am both a giving and a receiving of spiritual magnificence. Everyone I meet is incredible. There is a spiritual depth and beauty and power in everyone that is jaw-dropping, astonishing. I am so thankful to know this teaching. I'm so thankful to be here today with you. I am so thankful that life is as magnificent as we dare to say that it is. And I release this word into the law, into reality, into infinite mind, and into manifestation. That this is the best day that has ever been at all levels for every one of us. Why not? I say yes to life, and life says yes to me, and we may say together, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Ned. I tell you, we have it. We got it ready for the rest of the week. Do you all agree? Yeah. Come on now. Yes. And so now, as we're closing everything out, it's been such a rich, rich day. Thank you again, Reverend Renee Laboa. Thank you. It's been such an honor to have you with us. Thank you again. Thank you, Reverend Ned. And we're about to close out. So thanks out there in internet land. Please come back and join us again next week right here at the Evening Muse. And thanks again. And we're going to close out with our song, Let It Be. So if everyone will join us, we can get in our circle.
We let love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. So much good to be grateful for in our life, and so much joy and peace and love. And there's also times when we experience the lows. And right now we have several people in our community who are experiencing great loss and sadness. So just reaching out, letting you know that we're here with you, letting you know that in moments like this, just open your heart and feel the grace of God. We let grace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We love you, we bless you, and we thank you. Have a great week. And if we can support you in any way, please reach out. Prayer@awakeningcarolina.com.